Chapter 3063. There's a universe supremacy level wild beast in the volcano region? Wang Xian frowned slightly when he heard Xian Lingyuan and the rest's report. Even he had to be careful when dealing with a universe supremacy level existence. If he were to be attacked first, Wang Xian might even die there. Yes, Dragon King. There's a universe supremacy level wild beast in the volcano region. However, that wild beast isn't overly violent. It lives under the largest volcano in the center. If we don't provoke it, it shouldn't attack us. Moreover, it hibernates for hundreds or even thousands of years. We have never seen its true form, Xian Lingyuan said. That peak stage God Emperor Desolate Beast race you mentioned, is it far away from that Cosmos Paragon Desolate Beast? There are a few peak Emperor God Beasts. Wang Xian continued asking Xian Lingyuan and the rest. According to the information we received, there are 3 of them. We can't be sure if there are more. They are very far away from the universe supremacy level wild beasts. In fact, no wild beast dares to go near the center. Some human experts don't dare to go near there, for fear of offending the universe supremacy level wild beast. Xian Lingyuan and the rest said. 3? We can deal with it. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. He looked at the 3 elders and said, Follow me. We'll annihilate that wild beast race. Yes, Dragon King! The 3 fairy dragon elders nodded. Now that they had joined the Dragon Palace, they understood that as long as there were resources, the members of the Dragon Palace could improve rapidly. To them, this improvement was heaven-defying and unreasonable. Let's go. We'll act now. Wang Xian stood up and said to them. Yes. Xian Lingyuan and the rest nodded and followed behind Wang Xian. Dragon King, aren't we bringing some men over? Xian Lingyuan asked Wang Xian as they came to the teleportation formation. There's no need. The few of us are enough. Wang Xian smiled. He stepped into the teleportation formation and arrived at the Dragon Palace in the volcano region. When he came to the Milky Way, he had thought of building a Dragon Palace here. However, after considering that there were too many powerful aquatic creatures and he was too weak, he gave up the idea. Now, the Dragon Palace in the volcano region was very safe and convenient. Dragon King, that blazed tortoise-wing beast is a desolate beast race. It is very far from us and will take about a day's flight. The volcano region was huge. When Wang Xian and the rest flew out of the Dragon Palace, Xian Lingyuan pointed in a direction. I'll lead the way. You guys point the way, Wang Xian said to them. He extended his unparalleled sacred wings and enveloped them. This way. Xian Lingyuan pointed in a direction. Wang Xian made a move and flew towards the direction of the blazing turtle-winged beast at a terrifying speed. Wang Xian, whose fighting power had increased to the peak Emperor God realm, had also reached a terrifying speed. It was comparable to a normal universe knight's speed. With a slight movement of his body, he directly rushed into the void crack. With your speed, Dragon King, you should be able to reach the territory of the turtle-winged beasts in about an hour, a fairy dragon elder said in shock. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile as he sped along. After entering the spatial crack, there was no resistance, no flames, and no seawater. Everything was pitch black. Wang Xian used his dragon eyes to look through the space and sense the direction. An hour later, Wang Xian stopped and returned to the outside of the universe. He scanned the surroundings. Dragon King, it should be in that direction. I've only been here once. A fairy dragon elder looked to the right and said, Given our strength, we don't have to worry. Wang Xian nodded his head and flew towards the right. Woo woo woo! After flying for a minute, he suddenly sensed a sound coming from below. It was accompanied by an attack coming towards them. Huh! Wang Xian was taken aback. He looked down and saw a savage beast with thick, fiery red wings, a tortoise shell, and a ferocious head charging towards them. Blazing turtle-winged beast! Wang Xian waved his arm and the 5 elements grindstone smashed down. Boom! The blazing turtle-winged beast was suppressed instantly. The 5 elements' energy sealed it tightly. A 7th-order God Emperor realm blazing turtle-winged beast. Xian Lingyuan said. I didn't expect it to hide so deeply that even we couldn't sense it, Wang Xian said with surprise. Dragon King, this is the lair of the blazing turtle-winged beast. They are almost completely integrated with the lava here. It's hard to sense them. An elder fairy dragon elder said. If a peak emperor god blazing turtle-winged beast were to hide, it would be even harder for us to detect it. This is already the territory of the blazing turtle-winged beast. This is going to be troublesome. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and hesitated for a moment. He waved his arm and a large amount of dragon blood condensed into an arowana. The arowana swayed its body and swam forward quickly. 90% of living creatures can't resist the temptation of the blood of a divine dragon. The blazing turtle-winged beast wouldn't be too wary of an arowana appearing in their territory. An elder fairy dragon elder said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded his head and controlled the arowana to swim quickly with his mind. Woo woo! Woo woo! Soon, blazing turtle-winged beasts flew out from the lava below. They stared at the arowana and chased after it. The movements of some blazing turtle-winged beasts attracted the attention of others. Soon, within a radius of 1 billion kilometers, the blazing turtle-winged beast chased after the arowana in a frenzy. 1/9 Order God Emperor and over 400 blazing turtle Emperor God beasts. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. With a wave of his arm, the 5 elements grindstone attacked the blazing turtle-winged beast. Woo woo woo! Woo woo woo! The group of blazing turtle-winged beasts felt threatened. They raised their heads and let out a series of dull cries that spread to the surroundings. Oh no, Dragon King, they are calling for help! Fairy Dragon and the other 3 said with vigilance on their faces. It's fine. Get ready! Wang Xian squinted his eyes and scanned the surroundings. He could sense waves of terrifying auras rushing towards him. 3 of them had terrifying auras and were definitely peak Emperor God realm existences. Woo woo! Soon, a humongous figure appeared in Wang Xian's sight. It was 10,000 meters in size and had 4 enormous wings on both sides. Its body was covered in flames and its shell was emitting a scarlet glow. A wave of scorching aura rushed towards him. I'll kill one in a second. You guys hold off the other 2. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He moved and disappeared instantly. In the next moment, he appeared above the peak Emperor God Emperor blazing turtle-winged beast. Chapter 3064, Killing Tortoise-Winged Beasts Below. 5 elements Dragon Claw! 5 elements Grind! When Wang Xian appeared above the peak stage God Emperor Tortoise-Winged Beast, the 5 elements Dragon Claw shrouded it. At the same time, the 5 elements Grind pressed downwards. Hong hong hong! The peak stage God Emperor Tortoise-Winged Beast trembled and blood seeped out from its body. Even when the terrifying attack landed on its tortoise shell, it was heavily injured. Wang Xian's attack ended, and it could not react in time. Dragon Claw Annihilation! Break for me! Wang Xian's eyes were cold as he slammed his dragon claw down on the tortoise shell. The grayish annihilation force on the 5 elements grind charged towards the tortoise shell. At this moment, Wang Xian was aiming for a one-hit kill. Facing 3 peak stage God Emperor Tortoise-Winged Beasts, the possibility of Wang Xian taming them was extremely low. While he was taming one, the other 2 would either attack him or escape. Hence, he had to kill 2 quickly before taming the last one. Hong! That fire-winged tortoise-winged beast felt death looming over it. It was infuriated. Scorching flames surged from its body and engulfed a radius of a few 100 million kilometers. Wang Xian was the first to bear the brunt of it. Ka ka ka! Wang Xian's body was completely covered with dragon scales. The fiery red dragon scales were also emitting scorching flames. A fire divine dragon was circling around him. Ka ka ka! Below, Wang Xian's dragon claw caused the tortoise shell to crack. The 5 elements grind's annihilation force surged towards its body. Woo! Woo woo! Behind, the 2 peak stage God Emperor Tortoise-Winged Beasts saw their comrade being attacked. They roared and charged towards Wang Xian. At the same time, the surrounding fire-winged beasts were riled up and charged towards them. Moreover, they could sense more and more fire-winged beasts charging towards them. Attack! Fairy Dragon, the three elders, Xian Ling Yuan and the others immediately attacked the two peak stage Emperor God tortoise-winged beasts and the surrounding tortoise-winged beasts. Pun! At this moment, heavy sounds were heard from Wang Xian's side. The five elemental grindstone and the dragon claw landed heavily on the heavily wounded blazing-winged tortoise's body at the same time. The heavily wounded blazing-winged tortoise was on the verge of death, its life force rapidly fading away. Buzz! Wang Xian grabbed its corpse and threw it into the mother nest. His gaze landed on the other peak stage God Emperor Fire tortoise-winged beast. He flapped his unbeginning saint wings and instantly appeared above it. Roar! That peak stage God Emperor Fire winged tortoise sensed Wang Xian's arrival. It lifted its head and shot a terrifying fire pillar at him. Blazing turtle-winged beasts, each 10 meters in size, suddenly rushed out of its shell. Boom, boom, boom! The countless small blaze tortoise-winged beasts immediately exploded. Sensing the terrifying attack, Wang Xian's expression changed slightly. With a shift of his body, he dodged the attack instantly. With his speed that far exceeded others of the same level, attacks from desolate beasts of the same level could not even touch him. Woo woo woo! When the blazing winged tortoise saw that its nomological sacred art had been evaded, it revealed a look of rage and fear. Voila! Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning saint wings and instantly appeared behind it. With a wave of his arm, a wave of energy was injected into the unbeginning saint wings. The 5 divine dragons on the unbeginning saint wings let out a roar. Each of them condensed their attributes into a divine dragon and attacked the blazing winged tortoise. The blazing winged tortoise sensed the threat behind it. It immediately turned around and shivered. The surrounding lava condensed into 2 lava tornadoes and attacked the 5 divine dragons. Voila! The unbeginning saint wings flapped and instantly appeared behind the blazing winged tortoise. The peak stage God Emperor Fire winged tortoise that was dealing with the 5 elements great grind instantly felt an intense pain coming from its tail. Following which, a terrifying dragon claw pressed down on its body. Woo woo woo! It let out a panicked roar. The 5 elements great grind spun and released 5 divine dragons that intertwined together to form a 5-colored divine dragon. The 5-colored divine dragon gradually turned into a grayish dragon claw and attacked the blazing winged tortoise. Roar! Sensing a threatening attack coming towards it, it struggled in fear. Hong! 2 dragon claws landed on its body, causing it to bleed profusely. Woo 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 woo! On the other side, the last peak stage God Emperor Fire winged tortoise saw the situation of its comrade. Its eyes were filled with fear. In less than a minute, one of its kind was killed and the other was subdued. Hong hong hong! It possessed strong combat instincts. A powerful flaming tortoise-shell defense rose from its body. Attack! The 3 fairy dragon elders saw Wang Xian's terrifying strength and were excited. They attacked this peak stage God Emperor Fire winged tortoise with all their might. 1. However, when their attacks landed on the flaming tortoise shell, the blazing winged tortoise disappeared. It escaped. It actually ran away. The 3 elders of the fairy dragon were also slightly taken aback and said in astonishment. Wang Xian sensed the 3rd peak stage God Emperor Fire winged tortoise escaping and was stunned. Woo woo woo! Just as one escaped, another roar could be heard from behind. The aura of a peak stage God Emperor could be felt. Another peak stage God Emperor Fire winged tortoise led a few thousand Emperor God's subordinates and charged over. One escaped, another one came. Just nice. Wang Xian's eyes revealed a tinge of excitement. He struck the blazing winged tortoise with his dragon claws and kept it. Subdue this one. Seeing the blazing winged tortoise charging over, he charged forward. The peak stage God Emperor Fire winged tortoise sensed the situation and was confused when it saw the aura of its comrades disappearing. Dragon eyes locking 8 desolations! Wang Xian charged over. In order to prevent it from escaping, he used his lost sacred art to seal it. Woo woo! That peak stage God Emperor Fire winged tortoise saw the dense chains in front of it. It opened its mouth and spat out fire ropes that clashed against the chains. Pum pum pum! An intense collision could be heard. Wang Xian's eyes were cold. His body was emitting 8-colored radiance, and his dragon scales were wrapped around him. Wang Xian extended his dragon claws and clawed at its head. Hong Hong! That peak stage god Emperor Fire-Winged Tortoise saw Wang Xian attacking it. Its 4 flesh wings slapped the ground lightly. Below the ground, pillars of fire charged towards Wang Xian. Voila! At this moment, he increased his speed and landed on the body of the blazing winged tortoise. He revealed a smile. Hong! The dragon claws landed on it and created a loud explosion. The seabed within a radius of billions of kilometers trembled, and the magma rumbled. Chapter 3065 Tomb of a Peak Emperor God. Boom boom boom! Woo woo woo! Woo woo woo! Dull sounds reverberated within the territory of the fire tortoise-winged beast. Wang Xian stood on a peak Emperor God tortoise-winged beast with chains coiled around it. Terrifying attacks rained down on it. The fire tortoise-winged beast howled in agony as Wang Xian's dragon aura pressed down on it. Around him, many fire tortoise-winged beasts fled frantically. Those that could escape to their nests immediately did so. Fairy Dragon, Old Elder Xian Lingyuan and the rest looked at Wang Xian on the fire tortoise-winged beast in astonishment. Wasn't his combat power way too terrifying? He could completely suppress a peak Emperor God wild beast. If these wild beasts didn't team up, they wouldn't even be a match for him. Surrender! Wang Xian's dragon claws landed on the fire tortoise-winged beast again and again. The severely injured fire tortoise-winged beast began to beg for mercy. Woo woo! As time passed, the fire tortoise-winged beast lowered its head slowly and stopped resisting. Wang Xian revealed a smile when he saw it surrender. Finally tamed. He looked around. Other than some corpses, the rest of the fire tortoise-winged beasts were either dead or escaped. I'm going to tame it first. You guys wait here, Wang Xian said to Xian Lingyuan as he began taming the fire tortoise-winged beast. It's good to follow a leader. There are many things that we don't have to worry about, especially with a strong leader. We don't have to worry and we won't lack food. Xian Lingyuan looked at Wang Xian who was taming the wild beast and said to the old elders around her with a smile. That's because we're lucky. If we were to rely on other races, we would be their mounts. One of the old elders said with a smile. Time passed day by day. In order to tame a peak stage god Emperor Desolate Beast, it would take quite some time. It took him a full 10 days to completely tame it, and he used some vitality liquid to heal its injuries. Let's continue to look around, Wang Xian said to the 4 of them. Yes, Dragon King! The 4 of them nodded their heads and immediately followed behind Wang Xian to search the surroundings. However, things didn't go smoothly. Some fire tortoise-winged beasts fled the moment they encountered Wang Xian. This made them frown slightly. Looks like these blazing winged tortoise beasts are already on guard against us. Let's return. After walking around for half a day, Wang Xian shook his head and gave up. Killing 2 peak stage god Emperor Fire-Winged Tortoise beasts and taming 1, he was already very satisfied. 2 blaze tortoise-winged beasts could increase the combat power of peak god Emperor Realm to Orochi and the others. At that time, destroying the Ice Mountain race would be much easier. As for the peak stage Emperor God War Pet, it could also help Wang Xian improve and accumulate a large amount of dragon energy. According to his estimation, as long as he could tame 5 or 6 peak Emperor God Battle Pets and sell them, his strength would increase by another level. And lie! Upon returning to the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian immediately informed Enlai. Enlai received the message and quickly arrived. Dragon King! Dark Blaze stood respectfully in front of him. Inform the Yaqui Devil Fiend and ask them to find a way to return to the Dragon Palace and improve their strength. Wang Xian instructed him. It's Dragon King! Enlai nodded. After an hour, Enlai brought the 2 back to the dragon transformation pool to level up. Next, Wang Xian tamed some untamed wild beasts in the mother nest. But 10 days later, Wang Xian suddenly received a message from Mi Xian Deer. The grave of Gemini Celestial Emperor? Wang Xian looked at the message and raised his eyebrows. In Willow Deity Dojo, Willow Deity announced a treasure land to all disciples. It was also the place where experts died. Gemini Celestial Emperor was the two experts who dominated the Milky Way millions of years ago. Gemini Celestial Emperor was also known as Saber and Sword Celestial Emperor. One of them used a saber while the other used a sword. Both of them were peak stage Emperor God experts. Back then, both of them were very famous. They once offended the Nine Swords race and were hunted by the experts of the race. But both of them killed 4 peak stage Emperor God experts of the Nine Swords race and tens of thousands of other Emperor God experts. In the end, the supremacies of the Nine Swords race attacked but failed to eliminate them. But since then, Gemini Celestial Emperor disappeared. Looking at this message, they had obviously died. Willow Deity should have known where the two Emperor Gods died. Hence, it announced the location to the dojo as a reward for the disciples. This wasn't the first time something like this happened in Willow Deity Dojo. But this was the first time Wang Xian encountered it. The grave of 2 peak stage Emperor Gods, should I go take a look? See if there are any treasures? Wang Xian muttered. He opened the Universe AI and looked at some messages. In the group of Willow Deity Dojo disciples, many of them were ready to go take a look. At this moment, he squinted his eyes when he saw a message in the group. A disciple of Willow Deity Dojo said that the reason why Gemini Celestial Emperor could kill the Emperor Gods of the Nine Swords race and escape from the supremacies of the universe was because they had acquired spiritual treasures. Acquired spiritual treasures, even the weakest ones, possessed immense destructive power. Among the domain-level races, the Ice Mountain race, which was relatively stronger, only had one acquired spiritual treasure. Perhaps even those low-level races in the universe did not have many acquired spiritual treasures. Gemini Celestial Emperor is of the fire attribute and water attribute respectively. If their weapons were absorbed by the 5 elements grind, it would definitely improve tremendously. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he decided to take a look. He arrived at the Dragon Palace in the volcano region through the teleportation device and flew towards the location of Willow Deity Dojo. Orochi and Demon Sha were about to make a breakthrough and the operation over there would still take a few more days. He could take a look at the grave of Gemini Celestial Emperor in the next few days. Senior sister, I've called Brother Wang over. He said he would be here in a while. I might not be able to be with you guys by then. At this moment, a group of over 30 girls had gathered in Willow Deity Dojo. Mi Xian Lu looked at the messages and spoke to them apologetically. Sister Xian Lu, are you going to be with Wang Xian? A few girls frowned. Wang Xian is really strong. If he hadn't offended the Ice Mountain race and caused dissatisfaction among the other disciples, we could have teamed up with him. What a pity. A girl shook her head. It's too dangerous to be with him. Xian Lu, you have to be careful too. A lady reminded the Mi Xian dear. Don't worry, Brother Wang is a good guy. You will know after interacting with him a few more times. Mi Xian Lu shook her head and smiled. Seeing the Universe AI trembling slightly, she said, Brother Wang is here. I'll head over first. Chapter 3066. Sister Xian Lu is a nice person with decent strength. Looking at the departing figure of the Mi Xian deer, a few girls said indifferently. She's not bad. Wang Xian is strong too. It's a pity he's too reckless. Oh right, senior sister, how many people from Willow Deity Dojo are going? A girl nodded and asked. I'm not sure. At least 6,000 to 7,000 people. After all, there might be acquired spiritual treasures. Such treasures are tempting to everyone. The chances of us getting them aren't high. However, Gemini Celestial Emperor was once a famous figure in the Milky Way. He should have many other treasures. The girls continued their discussion. Brother Wang. In the Willow Deity Dojo, Mi Xian Lu walked over with a smile when she saw Wang Xian. Have all the disciples from Willow Deity Dojo gone there? Wang Xian looked at her and asked directly. Someone should have arrived. However, the fallen god nation of Gemini Celestial Emperor is located on a lone island in the sea. There are many wild beasts there. Moreover, it's not easy to enter the fallen god nation, Mei Xian Lu said. Let's go. Wang Xian moved his body and brought her out of the place immediately. Layers of dragon scales covered her body, concealing her aura completely. The experts from the iceberg race were still locking on to him. Wang Xian didn't want to be entangled with someone who was about to die. He pushed his speed to the limit. Even peak Emperor God experts wouldn't be able to detect him. The lone island in the sea was further away from Willow Deity Dojo. Even with Wang Xian's speed, it would take him 2 days to reach. 2 days later, a humongous island floated above the Milky Way. The island was so huge that one couldn't see its borders. The island was surrounded by countless birds and beasts. Every bird and beast had a ferocious aura. This island was a paradise for the wild beasts. Once there was a commotion, it would attract a large number of wild beasts. In fact, everyone knew that there were wild beasts at the level of universe supremacy on this island. Even the experts from the weaker races in the Milky Way had to be careful here. Do you know where it is? Wang Xian asked Mei Xian Lu. Yes, a senior sister told us the exact location. It's over there. Mei Xian Lu pointed in a direction. Wang Xian moved and flew over immediately. From the sky, one could see huge desolate beasts on the lone island. Hunting and killing continued on the isolated island. Soon, at the edge of the island, there was a very strange building. Only a corner of the building was exposed, and it was only 10 meters in size. A large number of desolate beasts gathered around the strange 10-meter-tall building. A huge 9th-order God Emperor realm bird was lying on the ground, staring at the building with a burning gaze. Wang Xian noticed that there were quite a number of humans around. They should be the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. Currently, apart from the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo, no one else knew about this place. Wang Xian hid in the sky and watched with flickering eyes. A large portion of the God Nation was located within the void crack. It was clear that the Gemini God Emperor had laid down a restriction before his death. As their own divine kingdom, they were the masters of the divine kingdom. They could set the rules. Clearly, the two of them also knew that they were about to die, so they made the divine kingdom into their graves. Once they barged in, they might suffer a devastating blow. Even Enlai wouldn't be able to enter a divine kingdom like this, Wang Xian thought to himself. When one's strength reached the peak God Emperor realm, he could set the rules in his own divine kingdom. Just like how array masters could set up arrays to change heaven and earth, experts could easily change the rules in their own divine kingdom. Flames, torrential rain, lightning, etc. could be set up at will. If the divine kingdom was a dead zone, Enlai would suffer a fatal attack the moment he entered. With his third-order God Emperor realm strength, he would be instantly annihilated by the attacks of a peak God Emperor realm expert. Wang Xian scanned the location of the divine kingdom with his dragon eyes. He did not show himself. Perhaps the moment he showed himself, news of him would reach the Ice Mountain tribe. Big Brother Wang, should we wait here or barge in? Mei Xian Lu asked with flickering eyes. I can sense a terrifying energy in this divine kingdom graveyard, Wang Xian said plainly. Scanning with his dragon eyes, he could vaguely see two enormous divine kingdoms. One was the Fire Divine Kingdom, and the other was the Water Divine Kingdom. However, there seemed to be a ferocious creature inside. A senior sister said that Paragon Willow Deity announced this God Nation graveyard to all disciples as a test for all disciples. The treasures inside aren't that easy to obtain. I'm afraid it won't be easy to become a peak stage God Emperor, Mei Xian Lu said. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly as he pondered. Buzz buzz. At this time, the Universe AI transmitted information about Yamada no Orochi and Demon Fiend. The two of them had completed their breakthroughs and returned to the iceberg race. Just now, they had parasitized the leader of the iceberg race and came to ask him if he wanted to wipe out the iceberg race in one fell swoop. Upon hearing this message, Wang Xian squinted his eyes and a tinge of excitement flashed in his eyes. Yamata no Orochi and Masha had reached the peak stage of God Emperor. One of them had parasitized the grandson of the current leader of the Ice Mountain race. Under such a surprise attack, it wasn't too difficult to kill a peak stage God Emperor expert. After all, who would have thought that the grandson he loved and respected would kill him? Under such circumstances, it only took them a few hours to parasitize the leader of the Ice Mountain tribe. Moreover, they even obtained the postnatal spiritual treasure, Frost Sword. Why don't I wipe out the Ice Mountain tribe first before talking about this? Wang Xian was hesitant. Since the leader of the Ice Mountain tribe was under control, it would be much easier to get rid of the remaining peak stage God Emperor experts of the Ice Mountain tribe. Wiping them out would save him the trouble of being ambushed by them. Having made up his mind, Wang Xian looked at Mei Xian Lu. I need to settle something first. Do you want to wait here or stay in my special space? He asked. Ah? Big brother Wang, you need to settle something? Then, I'll wait for you here. If there's any news, I'll let you know. Mei Xian Lu was slightly surprised. That's good too. I'll give you a battle pet to protect yourself. Wang Xian nodded his head. With a wave of his arm, an 8th Order God Emperor tortoise blazing winged beast appeared beside him. Mei Xian Lu's eyes lit up, and her face was filled with surprise. Following which, she shook her head and said, Big brother Wang, this battle pet is too strong. I can't control it. It's alright. I'll help you suppress it and tame it a little. Wang Xian shook his head. Mei Xian Lu was also a flood dragon. Wang Xian would try his best to help her. Moreover, Wang Xian was prepared to let her join the Dragon Palace in the future. Chapter 3067. After helping the hard deer tame its battle pet, Wang Xian returned to the Volcano Domain's Dragon Palace. The hard deer wasn't in any danger following the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. Furthermore, it had returning leaf and an 8th Order God Emperor battle pet. It wasn't weak in Willow Deity Dojo. In the entire Willow Deity Dojo, there were only 5 peak God Emperors. There were only 3 to 409th and 8th Order God Emperors. Back in the Volcano Domain's Dragon Palace, Enlai was already waiting. Let's go! Wang Xian gestured to Enlai. In the next moment, they appeared in a grand hall. Inside the grand hall, a white-haired old man and a middle-aged man were seated. When they saw Wang Xian, they bowed with a smile. Dragon King! Dragon King! They were Orochi and Demon Sha. Orochi was currently residing in the white-haired old man, who was the leader of the Iceberg tribe. Demon Sha was residing in the elder of the Iceberg tribe. Dragon King, take a look. This is the Iceberg tribe's acquired spiritual treasure, the Frost Sword. Orochi immediately took out a sharp sword that was about 2 meters long and covered with frost. On the sword there was a pattern of an iceberg, which looked unusually exquisite and mysterious. An aura that could freeze everything circulated on the sword. Wang Xian reached out to take it. He was excited to feel the energy within the Frost Divine Sword. As expected of an acquired spiritual treasure. What's the situation now? Wang Xian asked the two after sizing up the Frost Divine Sword. Dragon King, we have obtained most of the information about the Ice Mountain race. Among the 7 Peak God Emperor powerhouses, 4 of them and a Peak God Emperor divination wizard are around the Willow Deity Dojo, searching for your traces, Dragon King. Other than that, there are 2 Peak Emperor God who are in closed-door cultivation and 1 is training in the Milky Way. Now, other than the unknown location of that person, I have a way to call the rest over. Orochi said with a smile. Oh? Then summon them as soon as possible and eliminate them. Wang Xian's eyes flickered coldly as he said. Yes, Dragon King. I have already informed one of them. He should be here in half an hour. In addition, the guardian of the Iceberg tribe's life token is under control. There won't be any problems. Orochi replied. All right. Wang Xian smiled and asked. How are the resources in the Ice Mountain tribe? Dragon King, they are very rich in resources. The leader of the Ice Mountain tribe also has a lot of treasures. TSK, These forces that have been around for billions of years really have a rich heritage. If our dragon palace kills them, we'll be able to improve tremendously. Perhaps you'll have enough resources to improve, Dragon King, Orochi said excitedly. All right. Wan Xian's eyes were burning with passion. If he could improve, he would possess the strength of a universe supremacy. Dragon King, he's here. A supreme elder of the Ice Mountain tribe has been guarding the Ice Mountain tribe. More than 10 minutes later, Orochi whispered to Wan Xian. Kill him instantly. As Wan Xian spoke, he came to the back of the main hall and concealed his figure and aura. Xiao Yu, what happened in the clan? At this time, an old man covered in frost walked in and said to Orochi. Supreme Elder, our Ice Mountain race has encountered trouble. Yamada no Orochi was sitting on the body of the Ice Mountain tribe's patriarch. His face was filled with sorrow and embarrassment. What trouble? The Supreme Elder frowned and asked in a deep voice. Not long ago, someone called the Dragon King killed a few disciples of our Willow Deity Dojo. He's very strong. We invited a prediction wizard and 4 guardians to hunt him down. Little did we expect that we've lost contact with him. Yamada no Orochi walked towards him as he spoke. What? We've lost contact with the 4 Peak Emperor God Guardians? Hearing this information, the Great Elder's face was filled with shock. Boom! 1. However, before he could finish his sentence, Yamada no Orochi struck abruptly and landed his palm on the side of the old man. The devilish chi beside him tore apart the body of the parasitic and tunneled into the old man's body. Xiao Yu, you! The sudden turn of events had the old man shocked. He widened his eyes in horror. What's going on? What's going on? He immediately mobilized the vast energy in his body and struggled with all his might. However, the black liquid was tunneling into his body from his 7 apertures. The old man's body trembled violently. Soon, his body trembled and his pupils turned completely black. Gradually, the black disappeared and his pupils regained their clarity. However, within the clarity, there was a tinge of slyness. Done! The devilish chi exclaimed excitedly. He took out the vitality fluid to heal the wounds inflicted by Yamada no Orochi. Wan Xian walked out from the back with a smile. Under such an unexpected situation, Wan Xian didn't even have to do anything. This was the terrifying part of the Venom Horn Dragon. Dragon King, you don't even have to do anything. We can eliminate them. The 2 of them laughed. When will the next one arrive? Wan Xian asked with a smile. Today. I don't know when exactly it will be. The most troublesome ones are the few guardians from the Ice Mountain race. Together with the prediction wizard, there are 5 Peak Emperor God experts. I'm afraid it won't be easy to separate them within a short period of time. Of course, if we have 10 days or a month of planning, it shouldn't be a big problem. Yamada no Orochi pondered. There's no need for that. When the time comes, we can kill them by force. The 3 of us can catch them off guard and kill 3 of them. The other 2 can be easily dealt with. Wan Xian said. It's not a big problem. The 5 of them might need 5 to 6 days to arrive. Yamada no Orochi said. Let's eliminate them as soon as possible to prevent any unforeseen events. Wan Xian nodded his head. Emperor God experts all had unimaginable means. It would be best to eliminate them as soon as possible. 5 to 6 days passed quickly. What they didn't expect was that while they were searching for Wan Xian, their race was gradually disintegrating. 2 hours later, a supreme elder from the Ice Mountain race rushed over and was easily killed by the 2 devilish chi Orochi. At the same time, at the sea around Willow Deity Dojo, the few guardians who received the message from Yamada no Orochi frowned and immediately rushed towards the Ice Mountain race. Because of the prediction wizard, they couldn't rush over through the God Nation. They could only fly. It would take 5 to 6 days to cover such a long distance. While they were on their way, Wan Xian and the rest were also waiting quietly. The countdown to the annihilation of the Ice Mountain race had begun. Chapter 3068. Patriarch, why did you summon us here in such a hurry? 5 days later, 5 old men walked into the main hall of the iceberg race. That's good. I've invited an old friend of mine to help us eliminate that guy. With my friend's help, we'll definitely be able to kill him easily. In the main hall, Orochi said with a big smile when he saw them coming in. Oh? A few guardians and divination wizards raised their eyebrows slightly. Ever since that guy escaped from the last ambush, they hadn't been able to lock onto that guy's figure until now. According to the calculation wizard's guess, it was because he was in Willow Deity Dojo. The aura of Willow Deity had concealed him from locking on to him. They did not expect the patriarch to find an old friend at this time. They had never heard of this old friend. This is... But soon, they noticed a figure covered in strange scales at the side. The figure contained a terrifying aura. They could tell that it was a peak Emperor God expert. But what surprised them was that there was a battle pet behind him. It was a battle pet that was only 10 meters tall, had a turtle shell for wings, and was emitting a horrifying aura. They recognized the battle pet immediately. It was a peak Emperor God tortoise winged beast. To have a peak Emperor God tortoise battle pet, this person was definitely not simple. A look of astonishment appeared on the faces of the Ice Mountain Tribe protectors. Greetings, friend, the protectors said very politely. Greetings, everyone. The figure covered in dragon scales was Wang Xian. Now that he had the ability to change his aura, they had prepared this plan over the past few days. Moreover, they could also increase the fighting power of a peak Emperor God. Tortoise Wing Beast. A battle pet that Wang Xian had tamed. Ha ha ha, come, calculation wizard, please take a seat. Let's discuss our next plan. Yamada no Orochi laughed and gestured to them. All right. The wizard of divination nodded and walked to the side to sit. The 4 protectors also walked to the side. Wang Xian looked at the calculation wizard approaching him, then at Yamada no Sha and the rest with a smile. Boom! In the next moment, his palm turned into a dragon claw and struck at the calculation wizard. The terrifying attack and the terrifying speed instantly entered the prediction wizard's body. He had no time to react. Clang! Pft pft! Roar roar! Yamada no Sha and Sha made their moves. Yamada no Orochi unsheathed his Frost Divine sword and slashed at one of the guardians. The sudden attack and the horror of the Frost Divine sword destroyed the guardian. Similarly, Demonfian's claws tore through the parasitic body and pierced through a protector. Black, sharp claws emerged from various parts of the protector's body. The Blaze Turtle-Winged Beast suddenly charged at an Ice Mountain Race protector and bit off half of his body with its ferocious head. However, that peak stage Emperor God protector's body was glowing brightly. He gave up half of his body in shock and retreated to the back. In an instant, 2 peak Emperor God experts were killed in an instant, and 1 peak Emperor God expert was heavily injured. When Wang Xian's dragon claw pierced through the calculation wizard, he frowned. Wizard Divination's Mirror of Heaven collapsed. It seemed like the Mirror of Heaven had some kind of mystical energy that blocked his fatal attack. The calculation wizard appeared at the entrance of the hall. His face was pale and filled with fear. Chief, what are you doing? The only one who was not attacked was the 3 guardians of the giant's sword. When he saw this scene, he was shocked. He roared in disbelief. What are you doing? Didn't you want to kill me? At this moment, the dragon scales on Wang Xian's face disappeared. He was back to his original appearance with a cold expression. He locked his gaze on the calculation wizard and said with murderous intent, Today is the end of the iceberg race. Hee hee, how dare you kill our Dragon King? All of you will die today! Yamada no Sha and Sha emerged from the body of the parasitic guardian. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Without the slightest hesitation, they instantly attacked the 3 great sword protectors and the severely injured great protector. How did this happen? When did you kill Chief and the rest? The 3 protectors of the giant's sword roared in shock and disbelief. When they were chasing after Wang Xian had killed Chief and the rest. He had entered the body of Chief and ambushed them. All of this made his hair stand on end. Stop! Your matters have nothing to do with me! The Cultivation sorcerer screamed in horror when he saw Wang Xian charging towards him at a terrifying speed. He was too fast. You were among the people who ambushed me previously. Let's see how many times you can dodge my fatal attacks. Dragon Eyes Lock! Wang Xian bellowed with a murderous look. Chains shrouded the entire hall instantly, trapping everyone within. Pfft! The distance was too close. It was only a few hundred meters. Before he could finish his sentence, Wang Xian's dragon claw pierced through the body of the Cultivation wizard again. No, no, no! Feeling his life force disappearing rapidly, his face was filled with despair and unwillingness. He had never expected such an outcome. He was only here to help the iceberg race deal with the Ninth Order God Emperor. To him, it was an easy task. He had never expected that he would lose his life. Run, run, run! On the other side, the severely injured guardians screamed in horror. We can't escape. The eyes of the three guardians were bloodshot. Feeling the chains around them, their faces were filled with madness. Fight it out with them! Kill, kill, kill! Kingdom of God, descend! He roared crazily. His body shook as he summoned his Kingdom of God. Summoning his Kingdom of God also meant that he had given up on escaping to his own Kingdom of God. He was prepared to fight for his life. If he could fight his way out, he would have a chance to escape. If not, he would die for good. Boom, boom, boom. The arrival of the three guardians' Kingdom of the Giant Sword caused the largest iceberg mountain of the iceberg race to let out a deafening roar. The arrival of the majestic Kingdom of God shook the entire iceberg race. On the iceberg, all the iceberg race members were shocked when they saw the sudden appearance of the majestic Kingdom of God. What's going on? What's going on? Why is there a Kingdom of God descending all of a sudden? The disciples of the iceberg race screamed in horror. The descent of their own Kingdom of God was something that had never happened before. Everyone knew what the descent of a Kingdom of God meant. Quick, let's go take a look! The expressions of the experts of the iceberg race changed as they flew over. Chapter 3069. Fight it out with us? What do you iceberg race have to fight us? Today will be the day of your annihilation! In the central palace of the largest iceberg of the iceberg race, terrifying energy swept across the entire iceberg. Cracks gradually appeared on the entire iceberg. Wang Xian stared coldly at the three guardians of the giant sword who had gone a little crazy. His face was filled with a sinister look. After being hunted by the iceberg race for so long, it was time for them to pay the price. Arg! I can't accept this! I can't accept this! What kind of force are you? The three guardians of the giant sword bellowed in despair. Beside him, the guardian whose body was bitten in half by the blazing tortoise-winged beast was observing his surroundings with glistening eyes. He was terrified and wanted to escape. Their leader and the rest were all killed. Everything was over. What awaited them was the annihilation of the iceberg race. Given the terrifying strength of the other party, only death awaited them if they didn't escape. He didn't want to die. Go to hell! Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning sacred wings and attacked the three guardians of the giant sword at a terrifying speed. He, don't even think of escaping! Orochi and the rest locked their eyes on the severely injured guardian of the iceberg race with murderous intent. Ha! You want to kill me? Even if I die, I'll take a chunk of your flesh! The three guardians of the giant sword were determined to die. Ka ka ka! In the sky, the iceberg began to crack under the terrifying pressure of his god nation. Law of superpower, Sword Mountain! He gripped the giant sword in his hands tightly and slashed it forward. The terrifying attack did not hold back at all, and it directly covered a radius of more than 1 billion kilometers. Are you crazy? The severely injured protector shouted in horror when he saw the sword mountain engulfing everyone, including him. His expression changed drastically. Unlike the three guardians of the giant sword, he had lost his fighting spirit. Humph! Wang Xian saw his attack and the 5 elements grindstone appeared around him. The 5 elements revolved and condensed into an Earth Divine Dragon. The Earth Divine Dragon circled around him and resisted the terrifying attack of the giant mountain. Bam bam bam! After passing through the attack of the Sword Mountain, Wang Xian locked his eyes on the 3 guardians of the giant's sword. Die, die, die! Holy Kingdom, Frozen Sword, Ice Sword World! However, just as Wang Xian flew over, the 3 guardians of the giant's sword let out a furious roar. The Holy Kingdom in the sky released countless ice swords that blasted down indiscriminately. A peak stage god emperor risking his life. He isn't someone to be trifled with. Wang Xian frowned when he saw the attacks blanketing the entire space. Under this kind of attack, he could not display his speed at all. However, with the full strength of the 5 elements grindstone, the attacks of the 3 protectors couldn't hurt him at all. Get closer! Wang Xian withstood the attacks of the 3 guardians and inched closer to him. Die, die, die! You want to destroy our ice mountain race? You must die too! The 3rd elder waved his arm, and the divine kingdom above him surged with an incomparably violent frost power. Streaks of frost condensed into ice swords and slashed down once more. Boom, boom, boom! The iceberg below slowly crumbled under his bombardment. Those are the 3 of us. What happened? SSS, what's going on? What's going on? Someone wants to annihilate our ice mountain race? The disciples of the ice mountain race who had just flown over were horrified. This iceberg was the core of their ice mountain race. It was also the iceberg where their leader and the experts were. Now, it was crumbling slowly. As for their 3 protectors, they actually sent their own divine kingdoms down to attack the people below. What was going on? You don't have the right to do so! Feudal struggle! Wang Xian relied on the 5 elements grindstone to close in on the 3 guardians of the giant sword. When they were tens of millions of kilometers apart, he suddenly accelerated. Above him, the yin-yang dragon board appeared and spun rapidly. Some ice swords landed on it, and were immediately deflected. Swoosh! Wang Xian flew towards the 3 guardians of the giant sword at high speed. His arms turned into dragon claws and clawed at them. Ice drill, kill! Seeing Wang Xian charging at them, the eyes of the 3 guardians of the giant sword turned bloodshot. They swung their giant swords at Wang Xian. The giant swords spun and formed a terrifying ice drill. The space collapsed instantly, revealing pitch-black space cracks. At this time, 5 divine dragons rose from the 5 elements grindstone beside Wang Xian. They coiled around each other and intertwined rapidly. Rising dragon. Boom, boom, boom. The 5 elements grindstone collided with the ice drill. The ice drill was sent flying backward. Wang Xian followed closely behind and clawed at the 3 guardians of the giant sword with his dragon claws. Die! A frosty force was injected from the Holy Kingdom into the body of the 3 guardians of the giant sword. He clenched his fist and punched at Wang Xian. Boom! Ka ka ka! The dragon claws collided with the ice fist. The dragon claws shone with the radiance of 8 elements, and the ice fist began to crumble rapidly. Swoosh! At this time, Wang Xian flapped his unparalleled sacred wings and drew an arc across the sky. In an instant, he appeared beside the 3 guardians of the giant sword. His speed was too fast. The 3 guardians of the giant sword looked at Wang Xian, who appeared beside him, with despair in their eyes. No, the Ice Mountain race will prosper. We, the Ice Mountain race, will not perish! He roared fiercely. Today is the end of the Ice Mountain race. Wang Xian's dragon claws landed on him directly. Horrifying strength and chaotic energy rushed into his body. No! He roared with a face full of despair. Why do you want to annihilate the Ice Mountain race? Why? At this time, a voice filled with despair came from below. The devilish devil grabbed the head of that guardian and dug his hideous claws into his body. Your words are really ridiculous. Upon hearing his words, the devilish 8 limpid devils were filled with ridicule. Why do I want to annihilate the Ice Mountain race? Because you guys are courting death, Otherwise, why would I annihilate you guys? Kill! Don't leave any experts of the Ice Mountain race alive! Pfft! Wan Xian grabbed the dragon claws of the 3 guardians of the giant sword and clenched them tightly as he roared. Rumble! As his voice trailed off, the iceberg that was attacked collapsed completely. The collapse of the iceberg and the fall of the guardians represented the annihilation of the entire Ice Mountain race. This is bad. This is bad. Our protectors have been killed. Someone wants to annihilate the Ice Mountain race. Someone wants to annihilate us. Our guardians are all dead. No. How could this be? Run! Run! Run now! When the experts of the Ice Mountain race heard the voices coming from the other side, their expressions changed drastically. Their eyes were filled with fear and panic. The Ice Mountain race was going to be annihilated. Their race was going to collapse. Chapter 3070. The Iceberg Tribe had been annihilated, yet they still dared to be arrogant? 1. Iceberg Tribe shall be annihilated! All of you, prepare to die! The iceberg collapsed, and the 3 guardians of the giant sword were killed. At this point, other than the missing Peak Emperor God, the rest of the Peak Emperor God were all killed. Baki Demon Fiend and the rest of the Peak Emperor God disciples looked around them with menacing eyes. Their figures moved and attacked at a terrifying speed. Peak Emperor God Baki Demon Fiend was invincible in the Iceberg Tribe. In addition, they had a large amount of information on the Iceberg Tribe, including the location of the holy nations of some of their disciples. They swept across the Iceberg Tribe quickly. Run, run, run! They are Peak Emperor God experts. Run back to your holy nations. Don't kill me! Soon, the entire Iceberg Tribe was in chaos, especially the disciples and tribesmen on the surrounding dozen icebergs. They looked at the sky in horror and fled frantically. Baki Demon Fiend and the other Peak Emperor God experts were being hunted down. Those with quick reflexes fled back to their holy nations, while those with slow reflexes were killed immediately. As for the Iceberg Tribe members below the Emperor God realm, they did not attack. Dragon Palace would not kill innocent people. It was enough as long as they eliminated all potential threats. The rest of the people posed no threat at all. Very soon, the entire Ice Mountain race was shaken. Countless people looked at this scene in panic, looking at the sky that had suddenly changed. They watched as the Emperor God experts of their tribe were being hunted down. Moreover, in a secret place of the Iceberg Tribe, there were a few holy nations of the Iceberg Tribe army. When those people fled to the holy nations, they were greeted with the attack of Baki Demon Fiend. Baki Demon Fiend targeted the holy nations of the experts and wreaked havoc in the entire Iceberg Tribe. All the treasures, all the resources, everything was taken away. The people of the Iceberg Tribe were shivering in fear. They did not dare to breathe under the terrifying might. At this point, they still did not know which force had annihilated the Iceberg Tribe. They still did not know why the other party had annihilated them. Wan Xian floated above an ice mountain and stared coldly at the surroundings. The iceberg had been destroyed. With the resources he got from the ice mountain and a peak stage god emperor blazing tortoise-winged beast, he should be able to make another breakthrough in his strength. As Wan Xian pondered, he moved and landed on an ice mountain at the side. With a flick of his palm, an acquired spiritual treasure Frost Divine sword appeared in his hand. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The legendary sword continued to struggle in his hand. Wan Xian circulated the water energy on his arm and a water attribute divine dragon circled around the Frost Divine sword. Hua! With a wave of his hand, the 5 elements grindstone appeared beside the divine sword. The energy of the 5 elements wrapped around the divine sword, trying to melt it. Buzz, buzz, buzz! The ice Frost Divine sword resisted fiercely. One divine dragon shadow after another entered the ice Frost Divine sword. Wan Xian sensed it quietly. After 10 minutes, he revealed a smile. Success. However, it will take some time for the 5 elements grindstone to absorb acquired spirit treasure. As he murmured, his eyes sparkled. After absorbing it, the 5 elements grindstone would receive a significant boost. Buzz buzz! The universe's AI shuddered. Wang Xian opened it and took a look. It was a message from the heart-crushing deer. Both of them had been in contact for the past few days. The heart-crushing deer had been reporting the situation over at the Gemini Celestial Emperor's side every day. 2 days ago, more than 6,000 disciples from Willow Deity Dojo had reached the lone island on the sea. The surrounding wild beasts had been cleared by the disciples. They were also preparing to enter the God Kingdom of the Gemini Celestial Emperor. Now, the heart-crushing deer had sent news that the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo were preparing to enter the God Kingdom. When Wang Xian saw the news, he hesitated for a moment. After informing Baki Devil Sha, he immediately flew towards the lone island on the sea. There were suspected to be acquired spiritual treasures in the God Kingdom of the Gemini Celestial Emperor. Treasures of this level would greatly enhance the 5 elements grindstone. With the Frost Divine Sword and another acquired spiritual treasure, the 5 elements grindstone should be able to undergo a huge transformation. At that time, it would possess the destructive power of a universe supremacy. Spreading the unbeginning saint wings, Wang Xian sped away. The lone island on the sea was very far away. He used continuous teleportation along the way and it took him a day to arrive. Ever since the heart-crushing deer entered the God Kingdom, she had not sent any messages. She should have been blocked. In a day, Wang Xian arrived in front of the lone island on the sea. Even though the journey took 2 days, and many disciples of Willow Deity Dojo had already entered the God Kingdom for 2 days, Wang Xian wasn't worried. If a peak God Emperor's God Kingdom could be broken so easily, it would be too weak. When he arrived at the lone island on the sea, close to 1,000 disciples of Willow Deity Dojo had gathered around the entrance of the God Kingdom. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and raised an eyebrow. These people were all below the 4th Order God Emperor realm. Clearly, they were afraid that they would die if they entered the God Kingdom. Hence, they stayed outside. Who is it? Wang Xian landed directly in front of the God Kingdom. When the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo saw him, they immediately warned him. It's the new disciple of our Willow Deity Dojo. It's that Wang Xian. Someone recognized Wang Xian and whispered to that disciple. Wang Xian! Upon hearing this name, that disciple's heart skipped a beat. Among the disciples, this name was like thunder piercing their ears. In a short period of time, he had killed 5 disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. He was extremely unscrupulous. Now that they saw him in person, they were still a little fearful. After all, the other party was very strong. It didn't matter if you were a disciple of Willow Deity Dojo or not. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and headed straight for the entrance. Wang Xian, some of our brothers from Willow Deity Dojo have dealt with the wild beasts outside and paid a hefty price to enter the God Kingdom. A few of our senior brothers have ordered that no one is allowed to enter. As Wang Xian walked towards the entrance, a young man at the entrance looked at him and said plainly, "Oh? Who ordered that?" Wang Xian raised an eyebrow, looked at him and asked plainly. "Our senior brothers from Longyu Peak and our young master Long Zitian said it." That young disciple replied expressionlessly. "Oh." Wang Xian replied nonchalantly. He didn't pay any attention to him, and walked straight in. That young man's expression changed slightly when he saw Wang Xian ignoring him. "Wang Xian, are you looking down on our senior brothers from Longyu Peak and young master Long Zitian?" He stared at Wang Xian with a gloomy expression. "If you say another word, I'll let you die here." Wang Xian paused for a moment, and cast a nonchalant glance at him. The young disciple's expression stiffened when he heard Wang Xian's words. Fear flashed across his eyes and he looked extremely embarrassed. Chapter 3071. How dare he be so arrogant after the ice mountain is destroyed? 2 SSS. Around the graveyard of the Gemini God Emperors, over 1,000 disciples from Willow Deity Dojo gasped when they heard Wang Xian's words. They stared at the figure in shock, their eyes filled with fear and shock. Wang Xian entered the holy kingdom of the Gemini God Emperors and ignored the rest. This guy is too arrogant. He doesn't even care about our senior brother and young Master Long Zitian. Does he really think he can kill anyone he wants? Who does he think he is?" Seeing Wang Xian enter the Holy Kingdom, that young man bellowed with an awful expression. "He is indeed a bit too arrogant. The Ice Mountain race has ambushed him twice, and it seems like he escaped by using the path of falling leaves. However, that is the Ice Mountain race. If he angers our young Master Long Zitian and the others, our dragon race can eliminate him in minutes." A young man walked over and said with the same gloomy expression, "Such an arrogant guy won't live for long. The Ice Mountain race will annihilate him soon. He's just a grasshopper after autumn. He must have given up on himself for being so arrogant." A middle-aged man looked at the disappearing figure at the entrance with disdain. The surrounding disciples from Willow Deity Dojo nodded slightly. Although Wang Xian wasn't weak, it depended on who he was compared to. If he really angered some of the disciples from the low-level races in Willow Deity Dojo, he wouldn't even know how he died. Wang Xian wasn't aware of the discussion behind him. If he knew, he might have killed those guys. When he heard about the dragon descendants, he already had the intention to kill them. The dragon descendants, Nine Swords race, and Skeleton race were all races that the Dragon Palace wanted to annihilate. The reason why he didn't do it was because the treasures ahead were more valuable than their lives. "This is the Holy Kingdom of the Gemini God Emperors." Wang Xian entered a holy kingdom and realized it was filled with seawater. He squinted his eyes and looked around. With a swift movement, Lin Fan flew forward quickly. The entrance had been cleared by the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. Hence, there were no obstructions along the way. The entire Holy Kingdom contained a terrifying amount of energy. There were also some fish that were formed by water elements swimming around. Some of the fish attacked Wang Xian when they saw him. However, the attack power of these fishes was very weak. Some of the stronger fish had been destroyed. "Gemini God Emperor, one uses a blade and the other uses a sword. The one who uses a sword is of the water attribute, and the one who uses a blade is of the fire attribute. This should be the Water God Emperor's divine nations." Wang Xian mumbled to himself as he flew deeper into the forest. Some of the buildings inside were intact, but some places had been opened. Clearly, someone had entered. Wang Xian wasn't sure how big the God Nation was, but there was a suppressive force and energy that reduced his speed by half. It was normal for one to be restricted from entering someone else's divine kingdom. There should be some treasures in the divine kingdom that have already been obtained by the disciples of the Willow Deity Dao Ground. As he continued to fly inside, he discovered that the world in front of him had changed. This side was filled with seawater, while the front was a world of flames. It was a red building with flames burning on the surface of the building. There were sculptures on the building. It looked incomparably holy. Ahead should be the Saber God Emperor's deity nation. All the treasures in the Water God Emperor's deity nation have been taken by the disciples of the Willow Deity Dao Ground? Am I too late? Wang Xian knitted his eyebrows slightly and flew forward at high speed. After flying for more than 10 minutes, there were still no treasures. Bam, bam, bam! Be careful! Before long, the sounds of battle came from ahead. Huh! Wang Xian was taken aback. His dragon eyes looked ahead and flew over immediately. This is... Soon, the battlefield came into view. A group of over 2,000 people was fighting with several water beasts and fire beasts. The water beasts and fire beasts were condensed from energy. Each of them possessed terrifying attack power. Behind the water beasts and fire beasts, there were two 20-meter water beasts and fire beasts. They didn't attack, but were scanning the surroundings spiritually with murderous intent. The water beasts and fire beasts looked similar to the Kirin in the universe. Behind the two water beasts and fire beasts, there were two coffins. In front of the coffins, there was a blade and a sword. The fiery red blade and the blue long sword were crossed and placed there quietly, captivating one's soul. When Wang Xian saw the blade and the sword, his eyes narrowed. Other than the two blades and the sword, there were other treasures around. Sacred beads that emitted blue and red radiance. sacred trees planted around the 2 coffins. On the 2 sacred trees, there were blue and red fruits. Each of the treasures was exuding a fatal temptation. More than 2,000 Willow Deity Dojo disciples attacked, while some of them stood in the middle and watched with vigilance. "Senior sister, watch out!" From the side, a few aquatic beasts suddenly stretched out their long claws and directly attacked a middle-aged woman. The surrounding women's expressions changed, and they immediately shouted, "Watch out!" In the middle, senior brother Junzi, who had not made a move, was shocked when he saw this. A long sword appeared in his hand and he attacked the few water beasts. All of a sudden, the huge leader of the water beasts in the middle let out a furious roar just as he struck. Columns of water shot towards senior brother Junzi. "Congeal!" Seeing the sudden attack of the leader of the water beasts, senior brother Junzi had no choice but to change his target. "Be careful, senior sister!" Roar! Beside the water beasts, Mi Xian Lu was shocked when she saw her senior sister in danger. She let out a low roar and her entire body transformed. Transformation! Her body transformed into a Mi Xian Lu and a faint dragon might exuded from her body. Her pair of dragon horns unleashed a powerful attack. She leaped into the air and caught the senior sister before flying back. "Blaze Tortoise Wing Beast, block them!" She quickly shouted, and the 8th Order God Emperor Realm Blaze Tortoise Wing Beast flew over to block the attacks of the water beasts. In the middle, the group of people who had not made a move noticed the transformation of the Mi Xian Lu, and their eyes flickered. "This is Flood Dragon, a divine dragon bloodline user." Long Zitian from the dragon race looked at the Mi Xian Lu with unconcealed passion in his eyes. There were also a dozen people shrouded in black robes looking at the Mi Xian Lu with glowing red eyes. "This is?" The dozen or so figures wielding sharp swords raised their brows when they saw the Mi Xian Lu's form. "Who?" "Many thanks, junior sister Xian Lu. If it wasn't for your help, senior sister would have been in danger." The middle-aged woman who was saved revealed a smile and looked at the Mi Xian Lu with astonishment. "Junior sister Xian Lu, return to your original form." She sensed something in her mind and said immediately. Chapter 3072. Ice Mountain had been destroyed. How dare they be so arrogant? 3 Roar roar! Roar roar! The aquatic beasts and fire beasts stopped their attacks when they saw the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo retreating. They stood guard around the Gemini God Emperor's coffin, staring coldly at everyone. Once anyone entered their range, they would launch a deadly attack. Mi Xian Lu sensed the undisguised stares from the surroundings. Her eyes flickered and she transformed into her human form. "Phew, these aquatic beasts must be the result of the Gemini Celestial Emperor using the power of the God Nation to activate the sword. An acquired spiritual treasure sword can unleash terrifying attacks when activated by the remnant consciousness of the God Nation." Senior brother gentleman retreated a distance away from the attacking range of the aquatic beast leader, as he spoke solemnly. "Are you all right, junior sisters?" As he spoke, he looked at Mi Xian Lu and the rest. "I'm fine. It's all thanks to junior sister Xian Lu." The senior sister who was saved nodded her head and looked at the Mi Xian deer beside her with a face full of gratitude. Who would have expected this junior sister to possess the bloodline of the divine dragon? She's a semi-dragon. At this moment, Long Zitian stared at Mi Xian Lu and walked towards her. The other disciples of Willow Deity Dojo looked over and were puzzled. When Mi Xian Lu heard Long Zitian's voice, she looked at him coldly and ignored him. I wonder if junior sister would be interested in joining the dragon descendants race. If you do, I can guarantee that no one will dare to bully you." Long Zitian didn't mind that she ignored him. He smiled and continued, "Otherwise, you will be coveted by many races because you possess the bloodline of the divine dragon." His words were filled with a hint of warning, causing Mi Xian Lu's expression to change. "You don't have to worry about that," she said coldly. "With the protection of our senior brothers and sisters, no one will dare to covet junior sister Xian Lu. Otherwise, they will be our enemies." The middle-aged senior sister frowned and looked at Long Zitian. So what if they do? That Wang Xian is the enemy of our Ice Mountain race. Wang Xian's men are the enemies of our Ice Mountain race. Young Master Long Zitian, if you want this flood dragon, hand it over to our Ice Mountain race. It won't be long before our Ice Mountain race delivers it to you. At this moment, Bing Ling Hongtu stared coldly at the Mei Xian deer and said to Long Zitian and the others in a flattering tone. Now, the disciples of the Willow Deity Taoist grounds were all aware of Long Zitian's identity. Even the Peak God Emperor disciples of the Dragon Descendant race in Willow Deity Tao Plaza were so polite to Long Zitian. One could imagine his status in the Dragon Descendant race. Currently, their Ice Mountain race was weak in the Willow Deity Tao field. If they could curry favor with Long Zitian, it might be a good thing for their Ice Mountain race. You! The expression of the middle-aged senior sister next to me Xian Lu changed, and she stared coldly at Bing Ling Hongtu and the others. The few female disciples of Willow Deity Tao field also had a displeased look on their faces as they stared coldly at the two of them. Senior and junior sisters, don't look at me like that. You should be clear of the hatred between us. This is a grudge between our Ice Mountain race and them. If anyone tries to stop us, they will be the enemy of our Ice Mountain race. Bing Ling Hongtu saw the group of female disciples staring at him, and warned indifferently. Although there were many people standing on Mi Xian Lu's side, he didn't take it to heart. They were just a group of loose sand. They wouldn't dare to provoke the Ice Mountain race. Ha ha, the two of you from the Ice Mountain race, if you can talk nicely, then talk nicely. Threatening others isn't my style. Long Zitian laughed, and patted Bing Ling Hongtu and the others beside him. Yes, yes. However, if she doesn't give young Master Long Zitian face, then we won't be polite. Bing Ling Hongtu revealed a fawning expression. Around them, some people looked at Bing Ling Hongtu and the others in disdain. Behind them, the disciples of the other races looked at them indifferently. Some of them were indifferent, while others were communicating through voice transmission. Many disciples were extremely interested in a flood dragon. Being a dragon knight was the dream of many. When Mi Xian Lu heard their unscrupulous conversation, she revealed an infuriated look. She clenched her fists tightly. The group of female disciples beside her revealed sullen looks. All right, everyone. We are all disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. Let's settle the matter of the spiritual treasure of the God Nation first. Senior brother gentleman spoke with a little helplessness. Hee hee. As soon as he finished his sentence, a chuckle was heard. Wang Xian, who had already arrived at the back, walked over slowly. He swept his gaze across Bing Ling Hongtu and Long Zitian with a cold look in his eyes. The sudden laughter attracted the attention of the disciples of Willow Deity Dojo in front. When they saw Wang Xian, some of the disciples raised their eyebrows and crossed their arms to watch the show from the side. Brother Wang! When Mi Xian Lu saw Wang Xian, she was pleasantly surprised and ran over immediately. This guy! Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest felt Wang Xian's cold look and revealed a fearful look. They no longer had the path of return. If Wang Xian were to attack them, they wouldn't be able to escape. Don't worry. Beside Long Zitian, an old man patted Bing Ling Hongtu's shoulder gently. Yes, yes. Thank you, senior brother. Seeing the reassured look of the old man, Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest smiled. In Willow Deity Dojo, there weren't many Peak Emperor God disciples. However, the Dragon Descendants had Peak Emperor God experts in Willow Deity Dojo. If the Dragon Descendants were on their side, they wouldn't be in any danger. I heard that the Ice Mountain tribe wants to deal with you. Wang Xian nodded at Mi Xian Lu and walked straight towards Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest with a smile on his face. They aren't good people. Mi Xian Lu said softly and followed closely behind him. Wang Xian walked forward and stopped 10 meters away from Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest. Are you the ones who said that? He lifted his head and stared at Bing Ling Hongtu and the rest. So what if we said that? Bing Ling Hongtu's expression changed as he faced the overbearing Wang Xian. Beside him, Long Zitian smiled at them. Bing Ling Hong too clenched his teeth and said coldly with some confidence. Haha, interesting. The Ice Mountain tribe has been annihilated, and you still dare to be so arrogant. Who gave you the courage? Wang Xian looked at them and asked with a smile. Huh! The Ice Mountain tribe has been annihilated? The Ice Mountain tribe has been annihilated? That's impossible. What's going on? Is it true? The surrounding disciples of Willow Deity Dojo were slightly shocked when they heard Wang Xian's words. Their faces were filled with doubts. Chapter 3073. The Iceberg Sect has been destroyed. How dare you be so arrogant? 4. Our iceberg race has been destroyed? Bingling Hongtu and the rest were stunned when they heard Wang Xian's words. Their faces turned cold. Hee, our iceberg race has been destroyed? Don't tell me you killed us? Although our iceberg race isn't very strong here in the Milky Way, we have been around for billions of years. How can we be destroyed so easily? Wang Xian, even if you were to be destroyed, our iceberg race wouldn't perish. As they spoke, they stared coldly at Wang Xian. Is that so? Wang Xian chuckled. It doesn't matter if you don't believe me. Go down and accompany them. As he spoke, his figure instantly appeared in front of them, and his palm reached out to grab them. Young Master Long Zhaitian! Seeing Wang Xian's attack, Bingling Hongtu and the rest's faces changed, and they shouted. Pa! Hee, you are all disciples of the Willow Deity Dojo. Moreover, you are my people. I don't care who you are or how arrogant you are. Keep a low profile in front of us. The moment Wang Xian attacked, Long Zhaitian's body shook. Lightning shot out from his body and condensed into a palm that grabbed Wang Xian's arm. Long Zhaitian looked at Wang Xian and said indifferently. Beside Long Zhaitian, Long Yufeng and the disciples of the dragon race watched with smiles on their faces. Long Zhaitian's bloodline is really terrifying. His current strength is only at the 8th Order God Emperor realm, but he can fight against the 9th Order God Emperor realm. His bloodline is indeed strong. I heard that Wang Xian has the strength of a 9th Order God Emperor. Fighting against Long Zhaitian and the rest is obviously a slap in the face. His strength is enough to bully some domain-level race's disciples. Some people whispered when they saw this scene. Wang Xian, don't be arrogant. And you, hard deer, you better submit to our young master Long Zhaitian. Otherwise, you will suffer a lot in the future. Wang Xian looked at Long Zhaitian's attack, heard Bingling Hongtu and the rest's words, and looked at their arrogant expressions. Buzz! His palm moved slightly, and a terrifying destructive force instantly smashed the lightning palm that was blocking him. Bang, bang! In the next moment, Bing Ling and Hongtu, who still had smiles on their faces, burst into pieces. Fresh blood splashed all over Long Zhaitian's body. This sudden scene caused everyone to be slightly stunned. Long Zhaitian's entire person was also somewhat stupefied. Feeling the splattered blood on his face, there was a trace of change in his expression. Trash! No one knew if he was talking about Bing Ling, Hongtu and the rest, or Long Zhaitian. Probably both. When he first made his move, he wanted to see the attitude of Long Zhaitian and the others. If they attacked, Wang Xian would play along with them. You're courting death! Upon hearing Wang Xian's name, Long Zhaitian's expression changed instantly. Terrifying murderous intent erupted from his body. Bolts of lightning gathered on his body. Young Master Long Zhaitian! At the side, Long Yufeng extended his hand and pulled Long Zhaitian. His eyes revealed a grave and vigilant expression as he transmitted his voice. Young Master Long Zhaitian, I'm afraid his strength is not weaker than mine. Crackle! Upon hearing Long Yufeng's words, Long Zhaitian's eyes narrowed slightly and the lightning on his body emitted a violent sound. He stared coldly at Wang Xian and revealed a sinister smile. Interesting, interesting. You are the first person to not give me, Long Zhaitian, any face. Today, I'm here for the acquired spiritual treasure. I can't play with you. You will regret your actions just now very soon, because you will have to pay with your life. As Long Zhaitian spoke, He extended his hand and wiped the fresh blood on his body, making it disappear. He looked at Wang Xian plainly, as though he was narrating a very ordinary matter. I'm also here for the spiritual treasure in front. Wang Xian wore a smile on his face as he looked at Long Zhaitian calmly. Ka ka ka! Upon seeing Wang Xian's indifferent expression, Long Zhaitian's eyes were filled with anger. Good, good, he said coldly as he turned his head to look at the coffin. This? Wang Xian actually killed another 2 disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. He has killed a total of 7. He is too arrogant and unscrupulous. He doesn't give any face to the dragon descendants. First, he offended the Ice Mountain race. Now, he offended Long Zhaitian and the rest. But that Wang Xian is really strong. He doesn't seem to be a 9th Order God Emperor. He might be a peak God Emperor. Some people discussed softly as they glanced at Wang Xian from time to time. Wang Xian's sudden attack had indeed shocked them. In an instant, he killed Bing Ling, Hong Tu, and the rest. Blood splattered all over Long Zhaitian. Some of the experts from Willow Deity Dojo could vaguely sense that Wang Xian's strength should be at the peak God Emperor realm. Everyone, let's attack together. The treasure belongs to those who are capable. Long Yofeng's cold gaze swept across Wang Xian before he looked at the surrounding disciples of Willow Deity Dojo. All right, those who are capable will have it. It all depends on their own capabilities. An old man beside him who was holding a strange-looking tree nodded his head. Agreed. That acquired spiritual treasure belongs to me. I'll say the ugly words first. If anyone tries to snatch it from me, don't blame me for being impolite. On the right, an old man shrouded in black robes with blood-red flames in his eyes spoke plainly. It all depends on your own capabilities. Long Zhaitian sneered. Sell everything. If anyone wants to be the last to strike, don't blame us for being impolite. Long Yufeng said coldly as a terrifying aura surged from his body. Go back and wait for me at Willow Deity Dojo. Wang Xian said to the Mi Xian deer. Huh. Mi Xian Lu looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Her face was filled with astonishment as she nodded her head slightly. Hee. He laughed and didn't say anything else. He looked around and the corner of his mouth curved into a smile. Since he had made such arrangements, it was obvious that he had something important to do. Attack! An old man bellowed. The disciples of Willow Deity Dojo started moving. Senior brother gentleman, Long Yufeng, the old man shrouded in black robes, and the old man holding the strange-looking tree. The 4 of them led the way and flew towards the location of the treasure. When the leaders of the water and fire beasts saw them, their eyes were filled with coldness. They let out a roar and charged towards them. Scram! All of them shouted. Their eyes were filled with killing intent as they attacked the leaders of the water and fire beasts. Rumble! Wang Xian's body shook as he charged forward. Terrifying energy gathered in his body as he attacked the water and fire beasts. Behind him, Long Zhaitian and the rest of the 9th Order God Emperor realm experts followed closely. Everyone wanted to fight for a postnatal spiritual treasure. Chapter 3074 Snatching Treasures and Killing Up. When the leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts saw the group of leaders charging towards them, they revealed a ferocious look. Their bodies shook as horrifying swords and sabers spun around them. They lifted their heads and brandished their long sabers and swords towards Wang Xian and the group. Crackle! Long Yufeng shook his body and swung his arm forward. With a purple divine weapon on his arm, he blasted forward. A lightning dragon appeared and attacked the sabers and swords in front of him. At the side, the old man with the strange tree of God, the black-robed old man from the skeleton clan, and senior brother gentleman launched their attacks at the same time. Waves of horrifying energy collided with the attacks of the leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The entire space exploded immediately. Horrifying energy gathered at the center, preventing anyone from advancing. Roar, roar! At this time, 2 roars were heard. The leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts, which were originally 20 meters in size, grew to 1,000 meters in size. They carried sharp sabers and swords and attacked them. Wan Xian waved his arm and a huge, grayish dragon claw struck at the leader of the fire beasts. Roar! Fire sabers spun around the fire beast and slashed at Wan Xian's dragon claw. The horrifying flaming saber radiance caused the dragon claw to crumble rapidly. It leaped, opened its mouth, and shrouded the area in front of it with flames. Wan Xian raised his eyebrows slightly when he sensed the horrifying attack. He moved and dodged immediately. Senior brother gentleman and the rest also retreated immediately. The attacks of the two leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts were too strong. TSK, without the control of the Gemini Celestial Emperor, we're just relying on the remaining strength of the God Nation. Everyone, don't hold back. The black-robed old man looked at the water beasts and fire beasts. He swept his gaze across the surroundings with a cold look in his eyes. Bloom! The old man with the strange tree of God lifted his head and tossed the tree of God into the air. Branches appeared out of nowhere and attacked the leaders of the water beasts and fire beasts. At the same time, the branches condensed and formed a hole that was connected to the front of the coffin. Thunder beasts roar! When Long Yufeng saw someone bring out their strength, he stopped holding back. With a wave of his hands, lightning beasts flew out from his arms and attacked the leader of the water and flame beasts. A gentleman is peerless! Senior brother gentleman shook the long sword in his hand, and a long sword appeared beneath him. The countless long swords around him condensed into a long dragon, which also attacked the leader of the fire and water beasts. Skeleton, eternal! The black-robed old man waved his arm, and a black skull with blood-red flames appeared where its pupils should be. 5 Elemental River. Wan Xian followed their attacks. With a swing of his arm, a grayish destructive force swept across. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying attacks of the 5 people engulfed the water beast and fire beast leader. Voila! The acquired spirit treasure is mine. At this time, a pair of wings suddenly appeared on Long Zai-Tian's body. The wings flickered with the power of lightning. At this moment, his speed was abnormally terrifying. Around him, a lightning symbol floated above his head, looking extremely mystical. However, at this moment, Wan Xian suddenly felt a throbbing in his body, and an extremely strong suction force was felt. He immediately looked towards Long Zai-Tian's wings. This is... His eyes were flashing with passion. This was the aura of the sacred feather. The aura of the sacred feather of the thunder attribute. Long Zai-Tian had the sacred feather of the thunder attribute. A part of the unbeginning saint wings. Radiance flashed across Wang Xian's eyes. As he looked ahead, the unbeginning saint wings gradually appeared behind him. The water and fire beasts met their terrifying attacks, and the attacks dispersed the flames and water on their bodies. But soon, the leader of the water and fire beasts gradually turned into a long sword and a long saber. The long saber and long sword were filled with a murderous aura. They were incomparably dazzling as they slashed at the void. They were not slashing at the group, but at the front of the coffin. A saber and sword scar that looked like a sting but was only 4 meters wide appeared. Bam bam bam! Long Zai-Tian, senior brother gentleman, and the rest, who had just approached, had a terrifying collision with the saber and sword scar. The defense in front of them collapsed rapidly. Shit! What kind of creepy attack is this? Long Zai-Tian bellowed with an awful expression. That's the supreme saber and sword scar. This acquired spiritual treasure is called the saber and sword scar. One of the 9 swords race's 9th Order God Emperor Realm expert spoke with a solemn expression. We should be able to get through this defense, and get the acquired spiritual treasure inside. Senior brother gentleman said with a grave expression as he watched his saber radiance crumble upon coming into contact with the saber and sword scar. The water and fire beasts transformed and slashed out saber and sword scars, blocking their path. This saber and sword scar. Just as they stopped, Wang Xian's eyes flashed with light. Wang! The 5 elements grindstone hovered around him. He shook his body and the yin-yang dragon coil spun, covering the 5 elements grindstone. Whoosh! Wang Xian flapped his wings and flew towards the saber and sword scar at a terrifying speed. Huh! Seeing someone barging into the saber and sword scar, Long Zai Tian, senior brother gentleman, and the rest quickly looked over. Ka ka ka! When Wang Xian charged over, the yin-yang dragon coil crumbled. However, the 5 elements grindstone spun and converted all the energy into the earth divine dragon power. The heavy earth aura covered the 5 elements grindstone. Wang Xian placed his palm on it. 8 brilliance dragon scale. Layers of dragon scales appeared around the 5 elements grindstone. Wang Xian stood on it and continued his assault. Bam bam bam! The 8 brilliance dragon scale began to crumble rapidly. As the dragon scales disappeared, the saber and sword scar continued to assault the defense of the 5 elements grindstone. Roar! A deep dragon roar came from the 5 elements grindstone. Wang Xian's eyes lit up as he flapped his unbeginning saint wings. Whoosh! He passed through the saber and sword scar and flew towards the saber and sword in front of the coffin. One! As he came to the front of the saber and sword, he swung his arm and his palm turned into a dragon claw, grabbing the saber and sword. One! Wang Xian waved his arm and dragon shadows wrapped around the saber and sword scar. The dragon shadows coiled around the saber and sword scar and suppressed it with all its might. Success! A smile appeared on his face. Roar! Roar! When he kept the saber and sword in his hand, the saber and sword scar disappeared. The saber and sword that the leader of the fire and water beasts had transformed into disappeared into Wang Xian's hand. This saber and sword is much stronger than the Frost Divine Sword. Wang Xian felt the aura from the saber and sword and felt a little excited. What? Oh no, he got the saber and sword scar. Everything happened in a split second. Behind them, when Long Yufeng, Long Zaitian, and the others saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. Chapter 3075, Snatching Treasure and Killing in. What? Wang Xian got the sword and saber acquired spiritual treasure. Wang Xian got the treasure. SSS, he's so fast and has such terrifying defense. Behind them, some of the disciples of the Willow Deity Dojo noticed the situation, and their expressions changed slightly, revealing shocked expressions. No one had expected that the acquired spiritual treasure would be obtained by Wang Xian. He has the strength of a peak emperor god. It's highly possible for him to get the treasure. Some disciples from Willow Deity Dojo thought to themselves. However, some of them were looking ahead with flickering eyes. If it were any other peak emperor god who got the treasure, they might give up. After all, these peak emperor god experts either had the backing of a primary race in the universe or had great prestige in Willow Deity Dojo. However, it was hard to say if Wang Xian got the treasure. How could the other peak stage god emperor senior brothers be willing to accept an arrogant fellow without any background? Hand over the sword and saber mark. Do you think you can have such a treasure? Long Zaitian bellowed as he looked at Wang Xian with the sword and saber in his hand. As he spoke, Long Yufeng approached and locked his eyes on Wang Xian. Beside him, the old man from Skeleton Clan and the old man with the divine tree stared at Wang Xian with flickering eyes. Only senior brother gentleman shook his head and retreated. He didn't participate. Why? Now that I've got the treasure, you still want to snatch it? Wang Xian stared at them with the sword and saber mark in his hand. The treasure belongs to those who are capable. Long Yufeng stared at Wang Xian with flickering eyes. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and kept the treasure with a wave of his arm. All right, I've kept it in my holy kingdom. I'm afraid you can't get it even if you want to. Ha ha! He laughed and looked at Long Yufeng, the old man from Skeleton Clan and the old man with the divine tree with a mocking face. The heart of the old man holding the strange divine tree sank. He shook his head, feeling a little unwilling to accept this outcome. He didn't expect the acquired soul treasure to be suppressed so quickly. Before it was suppressed, the acquired soul treasure wouldn't have been able to collect his spatial ring and divine kingdom. But now, The acquired spiritual treasure had already been obtained by someone else and placed in the divine kingdom. The chances of them snatching it were too low. Moreover, he was not on the same side as the others, so it was impossible to force him out. Acquired spiritual treasures belong to those who are capable. Junior brother Wang Xian, since you are strong, I won't compete for it. As he spoke, he retreated. The skeleton clan's old man also retreated backward. 3 of the 4 peak god emperor experts had retreated. There was no need for him to take action anymore. Long Zitian's expression changed when he saw the sword and blade scar being put away. Humph! He snorted softly, anger and helplessness on his face. Long Yufeng also slowly retracted his arm. Who would have expected such a powerful acquired spiritual treasure to be suppressed by Wang Xian so quickly? At the back, everyone who saw this scene was filled with shock. No one had expected the biggest winner today to be the arrogant Wang Xian. This divine tree, I'm taking it. At this time, the old man with the strange divine tree moved and flew towards the water attribute divine tree beside the coffin. Since the acquired soul treasure had been obtained, they could only take a step back. Wang! Seeing the old man with the strange divine tree making a move, senior brother gentleman, and the old man from the skeleton clan also moved and flew towards the coffin. Let's go! Long Yufeng reminded Long Zitian, who was beside him, before flying forward quickly. What I hate the most is being threatened by others. Senior brother gentleman, the old man with the divine tree, and the old man from the skeleton clan heard a low murmur when they flew over. The few of them were taken aback and looked at Wang Xian in shock. Swoosh! Boom! At the next moment, Wang Xian made his move before anyone could react to the situation. His eyes were filled with murderous intent and terrifying aura. At this moment, he exerted his strength to the limit. Bam! In front of him, Long Zitian, who was only a few dozen kilometers away, didn't even have time to react before he felt a terrifying force fall on his body. In an instant, death shrouded him. The horrifying attack caused his body to explode. However, Wang Xian, who was attacking, frowned slightly as he stared at his head. On his head, there was a dazzling lightning symbol that protected his head from being smashed by his horrifying attack. However, other than his head, the rest of his body was obliterated. At the back of his lightning wings, there were 2 dazzling lightning sacred feathers that emitted lightning radiance. Under his attack, there was no trace of them. Seeing the 2 sacred feathers, he ignored the head protected by the lightning symbol. With a wave of his arm, he kept the sacred feathers into the mother nest. What? You're courting death! At the side, Long Yufeng heard the terrifying attack coming from beside him, and his heart violently jumped. When he saw Long Zitian being attacked, his eyes widened, and his face was filled with rage as he roared. SSS. This, when the surrounding people sensed the commotion, they were shocked. This scene. What I hate the most is threats. A mere 9th order god emperor realm cultivator dares to threaten me? Also, how dare you dragon descendants threaten me? Die! Wang Xian revealed a cold expression. He flapped his unbeginning saint wings and appeared in front of Long Yufeng instantly. His palms turned into dragon claws. The 5 elements grindstone appeared in the sky and attacked him. You're courting death! This horrifying speed! He widened his eyes in horror. He placed his arms in front of him and quickly reached out to block. Both his arms released the horrifying power of lightning. Bam, bam, bam! The dragon claws landed on his arms and Wang Xian clenched them tightly. One! Above him, a frosty longsword fell from the 5 elements grindstone. The frosty longsword condensed from attributes seemed to be able to freeze the space as it landed on his head. Scram! Long Yufeng felt the horrifying attack. He roared and the lightning around his body surged into the sky. Wang Xian moved and appeared behind Long Yufeng instantly. The sword and saber scar appeared behind him. Let's see how powerful you are! He shouted softly as he waved the sword and saber scar and slashed at Long Yufeng. The horrifying power of the sword and saber broke through the lightning defense on Long Yufeng. Chapter 3076 Robbing Treasure to Sen Ka Ka. A crisp sound came from Long Yofeng's body as the saber and sword scars swept across his body. No! Long Yufeng let out a horrified roar as he felt his body being sliced into two. Dragon descendants? Die! Wan Xian retracted the saber and sword scars and grabbed hold of his body with his dragon claws. The lightning on his body began to dissipate rapidly, and his vitality was fading rapidly. Wan Xian waved his arm and kept his body into the mother nest. Long Yufeng had been in Willow Deity Dojo for a long time. He did not have the path of return or the creepy lightning symbols on Long Zaitian. SSS. At this moment, when everyone saw Long Yufeng being killed by Wang Xian, they were shocked beyond words. They stared in horror, and everyone stopped what they were doing. Long Yufeng was dead. He did not have the slightest strength to resist Wang Xian's attack. Instant kill, a complete instant kill. Such horrifying strength. How dare you kill someone from our dragon race? How dare you kill senior brother Long Yufeng? Wang Xian, you're courting death. You're courting death. At the back, an old man widened his eyes in disbelief as he roared furiously. Wang Xian actually dared to kill someone from their dragon race. Dragon eyes lock! Wang Xian looked over when he heard the old man's words. Chains appeared around them instantly. The horrifying chains sealed off a space. You! What are you doing? What are you doing? The old man screamed in panic and fear when he saw the chains around him and sensed that the space had been sealed. Around him, the dozen disciples from the dragon race were also shocked. They swallowed their saliva and felt their scalps go numb. What am I doing? Since I've made my move, I'm naturally going to kill everyone from your dragon race. What do you think? Wang Xian looked at the people from the dragon clan with a cold smirk. You! How dare you! How dare you! Their bodies trembled when they heard him. Is Wang Xian going to go against the dragon race? This is too crazy. Just because of Long Zaitian's threat, Wang Xian wants to annihilate everyone in the dragon race. We've all misjudged Wang Xian. He's not arrogant. That's just his nature. Madness. Long Zaitian threatened him and he immediately attacked. Moreover, he exploded with such terrifying power. No wonder he could obtain the sword and saber scar acquired heaven's spiritual treasure. Long Yufeng, who was a peak stage god emperor, was instantly killed. This time, Long Zaitian has kicked a hard board. During this period of time, Long Zaitian has been very arrogant in our Willow Deity Dojo. Now that he has met a ruthless person, do you think that Wang Xian has really annihilated the Ice Mountain race? His strength is too strong. Everyone looked at Wang Xian, who was floating proudly in the air, with respect in their eyes. I don't care if you are a peak god emperor expert or a race's pride. Since you offended me, I will naturally exterminate you. This reminded them of Wang Xian's words. The iceberg was destroyed. Previously, many people didn't take this to heart. Now, it seemed that it might be true. Around the Gemini Celestial Emperor coffin, senior brother gentleman, the old man with the strange divine tree, and the old man from the skeleton race were looking at that figure with fear. With such a terrifying attack, they knew that they wouldn't be able to withstand it. Wang Xian! Wang Xian! I want you dead, I want you dead. You actually dared to destroy my body, you actually dared to kill a member of the dragon descendant race. Just you wait to be hunted down, just you wait to be hunted down by our dragon descendant race's universe venerable rank powerhouses. At this moment, an extremely violent and furious voice came from the side. Everyone looked over and saw Long Zaitian's head, which was protected by the lightning symbol. Noisy! When Wang Xian heard him, he waved his dragon claw. Boom! A horrifying suction force came from his mouth. I, Long Zaitian, swear that within half a year, I will take your head and grind your bones into ashes. When Long Zaitian saw his head flying over, he roared in a stern voice. The lightning symbol on his head flickered and his head gradually disappeared. All right, it's your turn. Wang Xian smiled faintly and turned to the rest of the dragon race. No, no, don't kill us! Don't kill us! Let us go! Let us go! 1-1. Out of the 9, 3 of them took out fallen leaves and fled in fear. However, 6 of them were screaming in despair. Ta ta! Wang Xian walked over sarcastically and extended his dragon claw. Hua la la! Chains bound them and sent them flying towards the dragon claw. No, senior brother gentleman, save us! Save us! A disciple begged senior brother gentleman for help. Senior brother gentleman's mouth twitched when he heard it. He was a good guy, but he wasn't stupid. Wang Xian was obviously bent on killing them. Moreover, he had already formed a feud with the dragon race. Wouldn't it mean that he was siding with the dragon race if he intervened? How could someone who could cultivate to the peak Emperor God realm not understand this? Wang Xian waved his arm and a wave of destructive energy engulfed their bodies. Their vitality vanished rapidly. After cleaning up the dragon race, Wang Xian scanned the surroundings. Everyone quickly averted their gazes with respect in their eyes. To them, Wang Xian was too ruthless. Wang Xian cupped his fist at them before turning to leave. Seeing his back view disappear, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Now 17 disciples of Willow Deity Dojo have died in his hands, a middle-aged man said leisurely. In a short period of time, 17 disciples of Willow Deity Dojo had been killed, and they died in the hands of the same person, the same disciple of Willow Deity Dojo. That was too ruthless. The scar of sword and saber is a type of acquired spiritual treasure. After the 5 elements great grind absorbs the frost divine sword and the scar of sword and saber, it will definitely possess the offensive power of a universe supremacy. Wang Xian flew towards the exit in a great mood. The acquisition of the scar of sword and saber basically confirmed that the 5 elements great grind would achieve a substantial breakthrough. Moreover, Wang Xian had just learned that because the 5 elements great grind had 5 attributes, it could also absorb the special characteristics of acquired spiritual treasures when it absorbed them. This absorption could also mean that the 5 elements great grind had fused with the acquired spiritual treasure. The spirits within the acquired spiritual treasures had become the underlings of the 5 divine dragons within the 5 elements great grind. After absorbing the acquired spiritual treasure, the 5 elements great grind could release the special characteristics and power of the acquired spiritual treasure. This was the reason why the 5 elements great grind had released the frost divine sword that could freeze the heavens and earth. If the 5 elements great grind could absorb more acquired spiritual treasures in the future, wouldn't it be able to release all sorts of horrifying attacks? Chapter 3077. The group of senior brothers and sisters has been in the Gemini Divine Nation for a long time. I wonder if they have obtained the treasures inside. I heard that there are acquired spiritual treasures. I wonder who will get them. Senior brother Long Yufeng might have gotten them. After all, the dragon descendants are very strong in Willow Deity Dojo. Young Master Long Zitian is not weak either and has many treasures. That's hard to say. Our senior brother gentleman is also very strong. The senior brother from the skeleton clan is also very mysterious and unpredictable. Outside the Gemini God Emperor's divine kingdom, a group of more than 1,000 disciples gathered outside, discussing curiously. The group of senior brothers and sisters had been inside for more than a day. They were very curious about the situation inside. It was a pity that they were too weak and couldn't compete with their senior brothers and sisters. Hence, they decided not to enter. Her? Someone is out! At this time, a middle-aged man looked at the divine nation and exclaimed. It looks like Wang Xian. Why is he alone? He must have been chased out by senior brother Long Yufeng and young master Long Zitian. Haha! It wasn't easy for us to chase the wild beasts in, and he just sat back and enjoyed the fruits of our labor. How could it be so simple? That's possible. The other senior brothers and sisters didn't come. They might have chased him out. After all, this guy doesn't have a good reputation in Willow Deity Dojo. Some people looked at the figure and discussed softly. Wang Xian walked out of the Gemini divine nation. He heard some of the discussions outside and revealed a faint smile. Excuse me, who are the disciples of the dragon descendant race? Wang Xian looked around and fixed his eyes on a young man. Her? The young man was taken aback by his sudden question. We are from the dragon descendants. Why? A few young and middle-aged men looked at Wang Xian and answered coldly. One of them was the one who stopped Wang Xian when he entered. At this moment, the young man's lips curved into a faint smile. Oh, nothing much. Let me send you guys off, Wang Xian said plainly and waved his arm. Boom! A terrifying attack arrived in the blink of an eye, and the destructive energy swept across their bodies. The four of them fell to the ground without any signs of life. Wang Xian took a look. With a swift move, he flew forward. This? What is Wang Xian doing? Does he know what he's doing? With a wave of his hand, he killed all the disciples of the dragon race in the Willow Deity Taoist grounds. Didn't he know that they were the descendants of dragons? One of the overlords of the Milky Way. Was he courting death? Everyone swallowed their saliva and looked at the corpses in astonishment. Look at the universe AI, there's news that the Ice Mountain race has been destroyed. At this moment, another astonished voice sounded. The iceberg race was destroyed? Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Some of them took out their supercomputers and searched for information about the Ice Mountain race. When he saw the news of the Ice Mountain tribe's annihilation, his eyes widened. Who destroyed it? 88. Does it have anything to do with Wang Xian? Just as the crowd of Willow Deity Dojo disciples were discussing in astonishment, not long after, Willow Deity Dojo disciples walked out from Gemini God Emperor's divine kingdom. When the crowd learned that Wang Xian had casually killed the other disciples of the dragon descendants, they gasped. Wang Xian was going to make the entire dragon race his enemy. When the disciples outside learned about the situation inside, their eyes widened and their faces were filled with horror. When the disciples inside learned about the annihilation of the Ice Mountain race, they were also shocked. They were well aware of the strength of the Ice Mountain race. Now they were annihilated. Was it done by Wang Xian alone, or did he have his own background? Only a primary race in the universe could annihilate a powerful domain-level race. Clan leader, all the disciples in Willow Deity Dojo, except for Zaitian and 3 disciples who escaped with the Way of Return, have been killed. At the same time, in a huge island palace at the edge of the Milky Way, an old man reported to a figure above with a bitter expression. The figure was shrouded in purple gas and sat on a huge throne of a giant beast. In the sky, a head that looked like the head of a dragon was hanging. On the right side of the head stood a young man. He was extremely weak and his face was filled with hatred. Grandpa, he took away my lightning feathers. I was almost killed. Grandpa, kill him. You must kill him. Long Zaitian stood below, clenched his fists, and gritted his teeth as he roared. This time, not only was his physical body destroyed, but 2 of his lightning feathers were also taken away. To him, this was an invaluable treasure. The entire dragon race didn't have many lightning feathers. I've sent someone to investigate. Wang Xian isn't as simple as he looks. The annihilation of the Ice Mountain race should be done by his people. A cold voice came from the illusory figure shrouded in purple gas on the stage. After we figure out how strong he is, we'll kill him and all the people related to him. After a pause, the illusory figure continued. Yes. The old man below nodded and walked out respectfully. Recover your strength first. Don't ask about other things. The illusory figure shrouded in purple gas moved and said to Long Zaitian. Yes, Grandpa. Long Zaitian opened his mouth but didn't ask further. He walked out with a sullen face. While the dragon race was searching for information about Wang Xian was flying quickly in the Milky Way with a smile. There were 2 pieces of good news. The Orochi had collected all the treasures and resources of the Ice Mountain race. He had also found buyers for all his battle pets. With the resources of the entire Ice Mountain race and the blazing turtle-winged beast, his strength would be enhanced. After my breakthrough, with the corpses of the experts of the Ice Mountain race, the Dragon Palace will be comparable to a primary race in the universe. I can send the disciples of the Dragon Palace to the Milky Way to hunt wild beasts and enhance themselves quickly. Wang Xian murmured. With a wave of his arm, the Immortal Palace's battle pet ship appeared in front of him. He landed on it and flew towards the direction of the Wangyin mainland. At the same time, the reputation of the Immortal Palace's battle pet ship in the Milky Way had skyrocketed due to the sale of Peak Emperor God battle pet ship. Peak Emperor God battle pet. What kind of concept was that? That was the realm of a peak domain level race. Now, the Immortal Palace's battle pet ship was actually selling battle pets of such a level. This had never happened in the Milky Way for tens of millions of years, or even longer. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. Everyone who likes the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System, please collect Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.